Well, my dad, before me, he used to mass, and we used to get up every morning at 5 o'clock and help him to dress. And that I had, that I was part of that, but I didn't know when it was gonna come out because during the time I wasn't quite ready for it. And I masked. My godmother made my brother and I an Indian suit. I think I might have been about 7 or 8 years old. And I had forgotten all about that as I grew up, but my brother reminded me because he didn't want to put his on. Well, yeah, well, that's what my biggest concern about, the situation that we have today. Because when we were coming up and when we started massing as young men, we stopped all the violence between the uptown and the downtown. That's what it was about, uptown and downtown. So we stopped that by going to all the downtown practices in the back of town, in front of town. And we went to all their practices, and we got to know these guys, and we become to be great friends with each other. So that's when all the violence started. But we didn't know why the older people were fighting. We didn't have any idea. But it was a downtown, uptown thing. And what a lot of downtown Indians don't understand, that we all are the same people. And most of the downtown people lived at uptown one time.
Right.
And so we all the same. And the younger guys now, they listen to the songs that we sing, and they think that's the way it go. Well, we had one of the baddest practice in the city, the boy and I. And all the guys from downtown, from back of town, front of town, wherever, they came to our practice, right? And so we start going there, invite us to their practice. So we start going to their practice. And we become to be friends, And so we didn't have any reason to fight each other. We don't know why the elders was fighting. We had no idea because we didn't ask them and they didn't tell us. Well, they was also Indians also, but they respect, like in one of my songs, you might hear that they ran through the bayou and it was hanging in the trees so high, and they say they was going to join the Indian tribe. So that was the Moss men. Well, now that's going way back. I did never know that, but I knew about they messed with the Indians when we was a kid because we seen them out there. They had that. Yeah, but it wasn't a tambourine. It was like a little mop stick cut off, or a piece of wood or whatever with caps on it. They flatten the caps out and put holes in them and put these little caps on there on the stick, nail them in there and use it. It put out the same sound as a tambourine, but just a little different. And like my grandfather was from Homer, Louisiana, and his wife was from Haiti. So she wasn't a slave, she was from Haiti.
Wow.
And they came down through, they had a basin used to run through New Orleans, over where the Superdome was. Superdome, rather. And they came over there, they had a dump. And they came on the banana boat and they got off right there and they stayed right in that neighborhood. And we used to go back there as kids and see them in there. So, every day they have a different, family tree behind the Indians. But a lot of people now don't know where we came from. And a lot of kids, like I'm about one of the oldest in the city now that's living, and I don't have an idea where we come because it happened a long time ago, way before our time. And if you didn't question the elders about it, well, they didn't speak about it because it was like a hidden culture. Because when my grandfather, we lived with my grandfather, and when his family come over and they would sit down and talk, we had to go outside. And they were speaking in French. But when I was to go to the chief house when I was 12 years old after our first mass, and he taught us how to play the drums and to listen. That's why we were so great in our music, because we was taught how to play it. And you know, like some cats that get out there with the tambourines or the drums, they just beat the drum. You're not supposed to be, you're supposed to play it and talk to it. And we used to get out there with our tambourines and talk to each other with our music, you know. And you teach the kids. They don't know that today, because when you go to a practice, everybody trying to be heard. And they don't know, if you play the drums, you gonna be heard if you playing it. If you beating it, you still gonna be heard, but ain't nobody gonna listen to it. Chill out, you know. I learned about the drums when I was a kid. Voice out mass and go to the chief house, because that's where we rehearsed at. We called it practice, but it was like a rehearsal. And it was a hidden culture for many years, until as we growed up, we started playing in the bars. And people used to pass by and hear. Before we even touched the drums, he sat down and talked to us. And he was teaching us what to do and how to do it when Mardi Gras come. And then after he sat down and teach us what to do, how to sew, and the things that we should do on Mardi Gras Day, then when it's over, when he finished speaking, then we got to the drums. And if he give you a tambourine, he gonna tell you play it. He ain't gonna say beat it, he gonna say play it. And if you're not playing it right, he gonna let you know. And if you can't get it, he gonna take it from you. Tap it softly. It's like if you're hitting on a drum, because that's what you call it. We used to call them drums.
Yeah.
And you let the ringers do their job, and you do yours. Well, when, you know, once you get the rhythm down on a tambourine, you probably could play it on anything, like beating on the wall or on the table at home, anywhere. And you know, and like when we used to have practice, when we come to a bar to have practice, we didn't have no other instrument but the tambourine. And at Second and Drive, we had so much power, and they had a guy, they used to have the cigarette machines in there, and he was over there in the corner beating on top of the cigarette machine, right? Putting that bass in there. And one guy, he had a bush comb, and it had these little metal ashtrays, used to be in the bar on the table, and he was beating on that and putting that cowbell sound in there. And we made our own instruments, because if you had the sound, you could get it from anywhere, you know. And then we had some friends that like beat congos, like Uganda. They used to have drum sessions out on the lakefront, and we used to go out there and listen to them. And so the timbales, I just went down the word lines and bought a set and started playing them, because the rhythm was already in me already, you know. And like I said, you don't have to be loud, just play. Well, it was handed down from being, like I was the second spy boy for the White Eagles. And they had the first spy boy, that's who it goes to when the big chief come down. And the first spy didn't want it. So then it was handed down to me. And once they don't, he didn't want it to give it to me, and I took it, and I've been chief ever since. Well, it was in me from my dad, you know, so I was born with it, you know, and like a lot like now, I hand it down to my son. And if he don't want it, then, because he's the second chief, and if he don't want it, then I hand it goes to my grandson, which is the first spy, because my dad had stopped mass. And when I become to be the chief, then he came back and had second chief for me. I don't know. He just said, well, I'm going to start massing again since you the chief. Well, okay, you the second. Well, the White Eagle was already built, you know, because it's one of the biggest tribes in the city. And when the elders died off, and the youngsters took over, and I got together with some of the guys, and what I did to make sure that they was doing it right. I went to Word Lines and ordered a lot of stuff, speakers, monitors, microphones, and reel-to-reel tape. Well, when I was a kid, the music well not a kid. When I got to be older, I used to listen to like Ramsey Lewis, Billy Black, Jimi Hendrix, different music. I loved it, all kind of music. And like when I was real young, before TVs come out, the first music that I really was interested in was Al Joseph.
Wow.
And I used to listen to him on the radio, and I never knew he was a white guy until TV came out. But he used to sing, man, like nobody ever knew. I bought a lot of albums, for different guys, Temptations, the OJs. I bought just about them all when they were doing their time, and like I listened to them real good, but my biggest thing was Indian music, Okay, well, we had Bo, which had the great voice, right?
Right.
And I had the know-how. And when we put that together, and then Quint Davis, we met him as he was young, going up to Tulane University, and he used to come to Indian practice, and he used to listen to us, and he told us that, man, y'all making music that they don't do nowhere else in the world. And so what he did, he put Willie T at a band called the Gators. Willie T and the Gators, so he put us with Willie T, and we did a thing at Tulane University, and from that on, that was it. Yeah, with Bo, when he couldn't get it out, then he'd get with me, and I put it right there for him. Johnny Tobars, Quarter Moon, Alligator June, Jan Smothers, Leonard Johnson, Crip Lawrence Adams.
Man, this is fun.
Tambourines. Well, after Willie T and them joined us, then we started playing all over the world then, Some of the biggest stages like Carnegie Hall,
Wow.
We was, and then the record company said we were before our time. We was knocking everybody out the box. I think we was more popular outside the United States because the people overseas, they loved it us, and then after Bo and I broke up, I went out with the Golden Eagles, just percussions, and like we played in churches, and people said, man, y'all got people in here doing something that they don't generally do,
Exactly.
We played in clubs where, it was dining areas and all that, and we was out with the Dirty Dozen, and they played first. People just sat there and watched it. When I came out, they started pushing them tables out the way, and the guy that on the club, he said, Chief, I said, what? He said, you realize what you did? I said, no, what? He said, you got people in here dancing that don't dance. I said, that's a good thing or a bad thing? He said, that's a hell of a thing. Because the music that we do is so powerful, Come to New Orleans for the music, because they know they got a lot of great music in New Orleans, and a lot of them love the New Orleans sound. And so they come here, and some of them, if they get hired little small jobs, they go in the French quarters and play and make a few dollars, But everybody want to play New Orleans music. But see, they don't know New Orleans music is something that you play from your heart. You know, you could read charts and all that, but you can't find no other music on no charts. You gotta bring it up. You know, we was up there in Arizona, not Arizona. Where the hell was we? We was up there in, no. It was way up there, some part of Mexico. And so anyway, yeah.
Yeah, New Mexico. Yeah, I'm
So Cyril Neville, him and I was together, and we went. When we got there, we went by these guys' house, and they were some bad musicians. They wrote out charts and all that. Okay, that was good. They wrote out the charts. We rehearsed for 2 days. But when we got to the venue, guess what? They was all mixed up. So I just told the people, I said, it's raining like hell here. I said, could y'all excuse me for just a minute? I said, because let me get this right. So I talked over to the bass player. I said, hey, I know you're a hell of a bass player because I heard you play. I said, you put the charts on the side. And I went to the guitar player, lead guitar, told him the same thing. I said, hey, bro, don't worry about the charts, just play. I know you can play, and you heard what I do. And they just drew the charts away. And Silver took the drums from the drummer, and guess what?
Wow.
They had the charts mixed up. They couldn't get it together. Yeah, I told them throw them charts away, bro. You don't need that because you already know how to play. And you know, like the type of music that we play, you don't need no charts to play as long as you're playing from your heart, you know. And if you is a hell of a musician, you should be able to play anything. Because we have guys come from Japan there, because I took full control. Music comes from the heart. You go to school to learn music, the basics, but it comes from the heart. Because if you could read charts and play anything in the world, but when you get on that stage with a rock band, that ain't in no chart. They should go help them to stick their crowns, you know, because they didn't know how to stick them. So, but Big Chief Jolly Mass with the Wild Magnolias. When he first started coming back, he was a Wild Magnolia. Then he started bringing the Wild Chapatulas. And that's when the Nevilles came in. Many years, you know, over 100 years. And, you know, the only people that knew about us was the people that live in New Orleans. Until we came out with those records, you know, that's when the world started knowing about us. I mean, because music captures everybody, you know, regardless of what color you are. All they got to do is come to New Orleans on Mardi Gras Day, and anybody tell them where monks stay and join us, and you'll see where we come, because they got a lot of bands that come in here and leave with me just to hear that. Indians played drums for us, and he only played a snare and a bass drum and a cymbal. That's all. That's all he needed.
Yeah.
Like I said, you just take Anders for interest. When I met Anders, well, Ruben was my manager, and he said, I want to hook you up with somebody. I said, who? He said, Anders Osborne. I said, who is Anders Osborne? He said, he's a great guitar player, you know. And Anders and I got together for the first time at the Funky Butt, and we turned the place out. And we had never met each other before, but Anders told me the story that somebody had gave him my first CD, Lightning and Thunder.
Yes.
With all percussion. And he said, oh, I'd put some music with that. He said he was in his car driving to New Orleans. He played the CD all the way to New Orleans. So what he was doing, he was learning me.
You're the
Yeah. See, the most important thing is with bands that I could see, when you develop a band together, y'all learn each other. And when you learn each other, then you'll know. Like when I get on that stage, my band, they know where I'm coming from. They know what I'm going to do before I do it. You know, because I know when to stop. I know when to key them in to do solos. And, you know, like I take control. And the most important thing about music is listening. If you listen to a gig, I think it was in Austin, Texas, and he wanted to play with me, you know. So no, I had a gig. I think he booked the gig,
Right.
and we played, and at this festival, guess what? When we was playing, everybody left from wherever it was at and came out there to shut us down because nobody else was going to the other stages. So, you know, and ever since that, that's when Papa Molly. And if you feel it, you got to feel it. And if you feel it, if you're a musician, you could do it. Because it's coming from within you. Forget about the reading the music and stuff all you learn now, because you want to play a different kind of music now. And if you know how to play music and you feel it, go for it. But just remember one thing. When you're playing from your heart. And pay attention to what's going on and you'll know where you at. Because you could tell if you up on that stage